Today I'm going to turn this nasty bathroom into something amazing. Woo! Oh my... And do it on a budget. My goal is to remodel the entire bathroom for under $2,500. If you had a contractor do it for you, it would cost you well over $10,000. So this will be a huge savings if we can get it done. So I'm going to start by removing the vanity and the toilet and then ripping up the floor because the floor is completely cracked up, and then see where we're at and if we can just salvage anything out of this mess. Most of the times when you're taking out these vanities, when they put the stub outs through the back of the vanity, they will put on the little escutcheon plates and the different connectors after the fact. So if you try to pull it out before cutting away something out of the back, you could pull off your connections and have water shooting out everywhere. So you want to go ahead and just make big holes in the back of the cabinet. Unless you're worried about reusing it, then you can make nice, easy holes. But I'm just going to make some big holes to make sure that it goes completely over the top of the shutoff valves. That's how we're gonna play. Take you out in pieces. I got the vanity out, and make sure that you think about the screws that are in the back as well as the side. So I got those out, and it was still really hard to get out, but I realized why, and I have not seen anything like this before. Check this out. Yeah, there's an inch mortar bed all around this that this tile is sitting on top of. I need to take this tile out, but I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this mortar bed, so I'm just gonna start going after it, but this is a new one for me. Fingers crossed this goes well. Oh my gosh, what is this? Oh no. Oh, okay. Oh, there's a mesh underneath it. I bet this will all come up in big pieces. All right, I think this is gonna be pretty messy. So I've got my respirator here, I've got some bags, and I'm just gonna go at it with the wrecking bar, try to pull it up in as big of pieces as I can, hopefully to get it all cleared out. I gotta say, that was pretty fun, and here at the end, this was all coming up in just sheets, which is really cool. So this is like a lath and mortar system here. So you've got this wire mesh or wire lath, and then they put down a mortar bed on top of it, and then they do the thin set and then the tile. So it actually wasn't that bad. Super messy. I'm gonna have to make a bunch of trips to the dump, and it's really heavy. Also, one thing to watch out for, this stuff is very sharp and rusty, so, you know, maybe make sure you have your tetanus shot up to date before you start doing this. I'm gonna clean out the rest of this, and then we'll see what the subfloor looks like. All right, I've got all the tile and debris down, and this was actually really nice because they had down like a tar paper or a felt paper, and then they had down that wire mesh and then the mortar. And so that tar paper was protecting the subfloor, and this subfloor looks really awesome. It's actually not even OSB, it's actually plywood. So this is in really good shape. Now there are a few water damage spots over here, but nothing that's too bad. But the thing that's gotten me thinking now is these walls. Now, I had full intention on reusing this tile, but as we took out the vanity, you can see that they notched in the tile after the vanity and the backsplash were on. So I'd have to patch this in here, and it's this kind of nasty almond color. And if it was white subway tile, might look nice, but this almond is definitely dated, and it's worse over here. I think somebody was having a bad day in the bathroom, reached over for the towel bar, and has just ripped off this piece. And this is not surface mounted, it's cut away. So again, I would have to patch this in, and honestly, this is just not our style. So I'm living the DIY nightmare that every homeowner goes through at some point. I've come this far, should I just keep going? And I'm just gonna make a bad decision and say, yeah, I'm gonna tear this entire wall out just so we can put in some new drywall and make it look nice and fresh and also straighten out this curvy wall. But I know I'm probably gonna regret it later when I'm in the middle of whatever's behind this wall. So if you've made bad decisions, just let me know I'm not the only one. Hit me down below in the comments. Let me know what project you should have stopped on, and hopefully this won't turn into one for me, but I guess we'll just keep going. All right, let's just see if by some stroke of pure luck that these just pop right off, but I highly doubt it. They definitely used, I don't know if that's glue or mastic there, but these are definitely on pretty good. You know what? I'm just gonna try to take whole sections of this wall out at a time. See if that goes any better. Okay, this legitimately might be one of the top 3 DIY miracles I've experienced in my life. These just came right off in sheets. It could not have been easier. Sometimes you're just living right. This is so large, I'm gonna probably have to break this down to put it in the truck. So the water shutoff is underneath the house, under the crawl space. I'm gonna dive under there and see what we can find. This is on the long list of projects. Oh gosh. Add that to the project list. Plug up that hole and figure out what's living under my air conditioner. Yeah, that's always reassuring. Finding a molted snake skin before I go into the crawl space. Yeah. I think this guy was holding it closed. All right, let's see what's under here. All right, there's the main water shutoff. Okay. Oh my. There is something underneath there. Oh, it must have come in over here. Well, dadgummit. I'm just gonna shut all the water off for right now. All right, guys, I got to thinking after I turned off the water, this rodent problem is a problem and I need to take care of it. So I went out and grabbed some supplies. I got a little rodent trap as well as, oh yeah, Paws and Claws Sea Captain's dinner. I'm assuming he's coming straight in there. So I'm gonna put one like right out here, and then I'm actually gonna put one down below in here. All right. Oh, that looks, oh goodness gracious. I'm gonna put it right there. That is gonna bring in who knows what. I'm gonna slide that Captain's Delight back in there. So as soon as something steps on this little part right here, the front closes, and theoretically it's trapped inside. Tuck this under here. Bon appetit, my friend. All right, I have no idea if this is gonna work or not, but while this is sitting waiting for a visitor, I'm gonna go back inside and rip out that top. All right, the water should be off, but let's release any pressure or leftover water. That does not appear to be off. When you're draining your water, if you can, shut off the water to your water heater, because I bet it is just draining my water heater right now. So let's do that and then see where we are. All right, that's more like it. There we go. Ooh, that's disgusting. If you need to remove a drain spout and you don't have a little basin wrench thing, you can just use 2 screwdrivers here. Put them in this way to go against each other. And then, with a little bit of luck, there we go. There you go. Now we're totally disconnected from the pipe below. All right, at this point, we are just ripping everything out. So, got the Sawzall, got all the connections done here, and this guy wouldn't come out, so I'm just gonna cut it right here. Let's go. Now, I'm just gonna cut this bad boy in half and try to take it out. I'm kind of worried about up top because I'm not exactly sure how they tied it into the soffit and what's going on up there, but yeah. At this point, we're just gonna send it and see what happens. Oh, jeez. Woo! Now, they already have this vapor barrier here, but I cut it in a lot of different spots, so it is not gonna work anymore. And I'm gonna put another vapor barrier up, and instead of pulling that down and getting all the fiberglass dust everywhere, I'm gonna leave it up. But just to make sure that no moisture gets trapped in between, I'm actually gonna just slice down the vapor barrier just to make sure that everything can pass through that one. And then my vapor barrier will keep everything out. Might be a little bit crazy, but I just hate putting more fiberglass dust up in the air. Do not want to do that. So that's what I'm doing. And this is 6 mil plastic is what I'm using for this. I'm gonna be putting in a whole new tub and shower surround, and the old plumbing has got to go. And I'm gonna use this little self-ratcheting copper tubing cutter to do it. These are really cool because you just keep twisting them till it pops. There it goes. All right. Now this is the new shower valve that I'm going to be putting in, so I need to figure out exactly where I'm going to put it. I am going to raise it up some because it's going to be a shower and tub combo, so I'm going to put that right at 36 inches from the ground. So it'll be pretty comfortable as you're standing up to turn it on, as well as if you need to do the tub. Now this is a tub and shower valve, so it's got the connections at the bottom and the top for the output, and then on the outside, that's gonna be where your hot and cold water come in. And some of these actually will now come where you can get them with PEX connections right on the valve body. But because this one doesn't, I have these little adapters that I'm gonna put on, which is a 1/2 inch FNPT female on one side, and then the PEX on the other. Now for any threaded connection, you're gonna wanna use Teflon tape, and I like to also use pipe joint compound. I like to use both because, you know, why not wear a belt and suspenders? Because honestly, you do not want a leak back there, so I think going overboard is better in this scenario. All right, I got all my PEX ones on, and actually I had put this other one on the bottom for the tub spout, and then I remembered you do not want to do that. That is a mistake that a lot of people make. So I saw this tip on the home repair tutor, and what Jeff was saying is, so you've got your inputs over here, your hot and your cold. And one of the things people don't like about PEX is that they are interior fittings. When you put it on top of the fitting, that restricts that water down even more. Well, if you're just in a normal faucet, that's not really a big deal because the water doesn't really have anywhere to go. It just kind of builds up the back pressure in the total system. But when you're talking about a shower and tub valve, if I try to force twice as much water through the bottom, and I had this similar PEX fitting on here, then it's not going to allow it to go. But now the water has a place to go up the top. So it could go out of the shower head. So you want to have a larger output on your tub spout so that when you're trying to force full bore hot and cold water, it's not going to back up the shower head. Now I am going all in on this solderless setup. And so what I got was this female NPT to 1/2 inch shark bite connector. So I can put this on the bottom of the valve and I still don't have to solder. And then as I come down, there's yet another one for the tub stub out here. All right, so I want my shower valve to be about 36 inches off the floor, but I don't have any blocking in here, so I'm gonna put in a 2x4 that I can mount it to. I do need to notch out this 2x4. It's already been notched out here, so maybe I'll come back and sister it up to give it some strength here, but I'm just gonna notch out enough for the pecs to go over because we need some space for that to run through. And hopefully the house doesn't fall down. I don't have many connections here. I've just got to slide in the pecs into the shark bites, and then I have a 90-degree here, and then my connection here. So I'm just gonna see how long it takes me to do the pecs clamps on 4 of these different connections and cutting everything to size. And I think it should go pretty fast. All right, that's the cold. All right, let's see here. That says about 7.5 minutes, and I was talking a little bit, so I would say under 7 minutes. I did 6 different connections, so about a minute a connection plus cutting the pipe here. That is really fast. All right, so for the shower head, I can also just run pecs up here. I've got this marked, and they make this little drop connector that has pecs on one end, and then it is female threaded so that I can just put in the shower head pipe on there that comes with the kit that I'll be using. And one of the tips I did see is instead of trying to make the connection up here, because then you're using your arms up here, which is not very easy, is to go ahead and make this connection down low before you make any of the other ones. And that's gonna save you some heartache of trying to clamp that with that big friggin', it's like a thigh master. It's like a thigh master except for your arms. Arm master. All right, let me get this thing on here before I go up top. Now I can put in the tub spout, and I just have shark bite here and shark bite there. So I'm gonna put this in place, measure it, and then add 2 inches, which will be enough for the little stub out. Now we gotta see how we did, see if any of this stuff leaks. So I've got one of these little shower head test plugs here, and I can just screw it straight into the top. And then that'll let us turn it on. All right, I'm gonna leave this running, go turn on the water, and then just sprint back in here. All right, let's go under the house. I do have some traps set out here so we can see if we caught anything. Here we go. Nothing in the trap, nothing in that trap either. Turn this on, here we go. Oh gosh, here, a lot of water running. Let's go. Oh, I didn't need to put that back. No leaks. Look at that. Ooh, I hear water running though. Where's that running? Oh, I think it's in the other bathroom. It looks like my shark bite connectors and my PEX connections all look like they are doing good. I do have these stop valves closed though, so I'm gonna open these up, and then that will let the water into the spigot as well as the shower head up there. All right, look at that. No leaks, PEX works great. All right, this is Brad from the future, and I'm gonna give a cost breakdown now, looking back and adding up each of these parts as we go. So for the plumbing, including the shower valve, our total was $97. So just under $100, we were able to get all that stuff switched out. It's a great start to staying within our $2,500 budget. All right, I just got done replacing all of the piping over here in the shower side, but what I found is that this floor is a little springy. So right up here in front of me, you can hear it, it's like a trampoline. And as I look down in this hole over here, I could see that it's actually only 1/2 inch thick material for the subfloor. And I'm used to having a 3/4 inch thick subfloor, so this is just kind of springy. So I'm gonna bring in a whole new layer of 3/4 inch subfloor. So I'm gonna go around and just shore everything up, vacuum everything flat, and then come in here and put the subfloor in and screw it down. And I think that will be a great base for the flooring. All right, I cut this piece of subfloor to match over what I have here. I'm not sure if the toilet flange is gonna get in the way. So let's just put it in here and we'll see how it lands. So there's an old saying that goes, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And this time, definitely that was in my case, because if this wall was not square, I would have slammed this piece of wood right down on top of my toilet supply line, which is right here. Probably would have snapped it, and water would have been shooting all over my face. So yeah, thanks walls for being out of square. And I'm gonna have to maneuver around this little pipe here. That could have been a huge disaster. All right. So after monkeying around, working over the pipes seemed to be the biggest issue, but just kind of knifing it in from the side is what worked the best. This fits perfectly around the toilet flange, and just need to cut a couple more pieces. We'll be good to go. Before I put the tub in, I do want to take care of this drywall up here, because we'll have drywall up above the tub surround, and it'll just be easier to install that before I put the tub in. I also put a little helper block right up here so I can just slide the drywall up there, so while I'm attaching it over my head, hopefully it doesn't come crashing down on top of me, but we'll see how that goes. Ah, dadgummit. Aha! All right, so there's been a few developments. You may notice that there is no longer drywall in here. I decided it would be way easier to just rip all the drywall out and put in full new sheets than trying to match in that little gap in between there and just make everything look right. So I ripped that out. I also took out the switch that was on that far wall. For whatever reason, they had the bath fan switch over there, which made no sense whatsoever. And so I put in a new box here where I'm going to relocate that switch. Now, that involved a whole mess of pulling wiring and stuff that I won't bore you with. Let's just say it's the joy of having an older house. You never know what you're going to find. But basically, we're ready now. We are ready to build back up from the dust and let the phoenix rise. So we're going to start with the tub. Now, before I put the tub back in here, I need to fit the overflow drain valve system. So this all just comes in a kit, and we've got a little piece that comes here right down at the bathtub drain, which is obviously the most important part. You want to make sure that that is super watertight. So I'm going to dry fit this in place and then make sure this is exactly where I want it before I glue it up, because this is the PVC. They do make some that have the adjustable collar, but I kind of like it where it's just solid and I don't have to worry about any leaks back there. All right, I measured up this piece, and this should be just right. Let's see how we did. Oh yeah, that will do. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and make some little witness marks on here so that when I'm putting it together, I know where to stop it. Sometimes when you're putting PVC pipe together, it can expand and push apart, and then it ends up not fitting anymore because it wasn't right where you put it. So I'm just gonna put some little marks on here to show exactly where I need this to be. All right, I can take it apart and glue it together. To make a good seal, I'm gonna use some plumber's putty and a nice little snake here, which is, I love using just way too much plumber's putty and having it all ooze out on the side, so we'll just keep up with the tradition. The tub needs to go in a bed of mortar, and that's going to go down here on the subfloor, but I did grab some plastic vapor barrier so I can put that down. So I think this does two things. One, it keeps the subfloor from soaking all the moisture out of the mortar mix and not letting it harden up the correct way and then have time to cure. And two, also, if you ever have to take the tub out or anything, it's gonna be way easier to do that. So I'm gonna staple it down just so when I'm putting the mortar in there, it's not gonna move around. I drew a little spot of where exactly the base structure is gonna be. So basically what we're trying to do is level anything that needs to be leveled if it's off, as well as just support the underside of the tub when you have all the water weight in there, as well as somebody being inside it. So I mixed up this mortar mix. It is the Quickcrete topping sand, I believe, and I also put half acrylic fortifier and half water in there per the instructions that I was seeing. So I'm just gonna lay this down in this little rectangle and see how it goes. Ooh, this is thick. I'm gonna do it about 2 inches and then we can compress it and level it as we need to. All right, so that's about even. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the tub in here and see how we can level this thing off. I just gotta get it on top of the bed. Oh, that's really high. What's holding you up? Oh, crap. I think it is actually caught on the plumbing underneath there. So I have to run under there and Sawzall cut that before this sets up and is a complete disaster. Oh boy. All right, I'm under the bathroom. Oh no! Ah. So there's already a joist here that was cut. This is a problem. I gotta do something right now and figure this out. I think I'm just gonna cut this joist and hope for the best, because I got another one right here. I got 2 more right here. I guess test fit after you put your drain pipe. Yeah. All right. I'm not proud of what's happened here today, but it had to happen. All right, let's go back up. Oh my gosh. Let's see if we can get this thing leveled into there. Stand in here. Oh, I think I put in too much. Sorry, level. You gotta take one for the team. All right. Am I stuck on it? Ooh, let's actually level this thing. Ooh, oh my gosh. I think we're there, folks. That may have been one of the worst experiences of my life in a home DIY project for sure. It's as easy as that, folks. Do it yourself. Now we can attach it to the wall. Okay. It is the next day and I did survive, and the bathtub is actually nice and solid. But I tell you what, that was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences, probably the most nerve-wracking experience I've ever had in a DIY project. And I gotta tell you, sometimes you just want to throw in the towel and just give up. And last night was definitely one of those. But in the end, it's going to be okay. Is it perfect? No, it is not. That's part of DIY and learning. And the only downside is the next time I install a tub, I'll probably forget that because it's going to be, 18 months to 2 years from now. So I would love to hear what some of your debacles have been in your DIY projects. Let me know down in the comments. At least it'll make me feel a little bit better. But for now, let's install this surround so we can get to the drywall and get this thing buttoned up. For the surround, I went with a 3-piece system from Kohler, I believe, and it looks really cool because it just kind of locks down into these slots here and goes together pretty tightly, and you don't have to worry about all the seams and caulking or anything because it's all integrated into the self-locking feature. So we're gonna put it in there and see how it fits. And the walls are actually pretty plumb, I think. We'll see how it goes. And it should register in these tabs to let me know it's in the right place. Aha! Well, hey, that was easy. You know what? I don't know that I vacuumed off that back ledge. I'm gonna take this down, vacuum that back ledge because I see a bunch of sawdust here and here. Actually looks pretty clean. Now all I have to do is just attach it to the studs in a few locations here and shim it out so it's nice and plumb and go to the next pieces. We're gonna have to make some cuts on these side parts for sure. Now the left panel should be pretty straightforward, and it's kind of cool because it has this ridge here that locks into the groove, and then there's some little pins on the back that will lock into these little slots right here. And then again, just attaches with some screws around the flange. There we go. Okay. All right, on my left wall, I've got to make some cutouts, one for the handle and then one for the tub spout. Now, up at the top for the shower head will be in the drywall, so I don't have to worry about that right now. But I do need to get the measurements for these guys. All right, now I got to get the hole saw. I'm going to go ahead and kind of dry fit it in here because this looks like it might be a little tight over here with the pecs, but I think it's going to be okay. Considering the fiasco that I had with the tub, I went ahead and made a little life-size template. So I got my measurements and gonna test this out to see if everything fits, because we do not want another one of those fiascos, even though I don't think this is gonna be bad. All right. I'm gonna say, yeah, that's gonna work. I'm just gonna drill this right here in the bathroom, and I went ahead and put some blue tape down just to protect the surface. Let me double check my measurements one last time. And that does look good. I'm just gonna be using a hole saw. One thing I am gonna do is I'm going to run it in reverse so it doesn't grab, and it'll cut a little bit slower, but that way because these teeth are pretty aggressive. So I'm gonna do that. I'm also gonna start by cutting 2 little holes here on the outside, and that's so that I have room to access the little stops that are on the shower head, because the hole saw that I have is not quite big enough to be able to access those. So here we go. I feel like everybody says this is the moment of truth, but isn't the moment of truth like when you're cutting? That's like whether you're right or not. This is like the reveal of the truth. The moment of the reveal. I don't know. Just something I was thinking about. Because guess what? The moment has already happened. Either this is gonna be right or it's not. I have to knife this in, I believe. How am I gonna... Well, this is kind of a problem. I gotta go do some research. Dadgummit. So after a little research, I've decided that this is a horrible design. I would not recommend this. This was the Kohler Sterling medley, I believe. I got it at Lowe's, but there's these pins on the back here and these little hooks in here. And so you lift it up over the top lip of these hooks and then you set it down in there. The problem is if you have a stub out for a tub spout, you can't, I mean, you got to lift it like almost a full inch, if not an inch, to get it over that, which means you'd have to have a huge hole for your spout. So I don't know why they do it that way. They make it so I guess that they want you to have a threaded connection and then thread it in after the fact. But we ain't gonna do that. I'm just gonna get my multi-tool and I'm gonna cut off the top of these little hooks here so that just the bottom registration is there. All right, let's see if that adjustment got us there. Hey, look at that. Kohler, if you need any design help, give me a call. All right, we've got ourselves a tub. This worked out, you know, horribly, but the end result's okay. Looking at the tub and shower combo, this tub and shower combo cost $800. I actually got it scratch and dent for $600, but we're gonna go ahead and use the $800 for that. We're gonna add that to our total and keep going to try to stay under 2,500 bucks. All right, it feels like we are really getting somewhere because now it's time for drywall. All right, with the tub in, now we can start putting up the drywall and reassembling this whole place. I am so stoked to get this looking back like a room and not a construction zone. Let's go. Now we are completely ready to install the flooring. We've got a great sub base and just a few obstacles to work around. Now, I love the look of large format ceramic tiles, but what I don't love is installing it because it is messy. You've got to use the mastic and stick it all down, and the subfloor gets all gross and disgusting as you're troweling it through. Then you lay that down. Then you got to go back and grout it after the fact. So it is a long, messy process. So instead of that, we are going with this luxury vinyl tile. So it's like LVP, luxury vinyl plank, except instead of being a wood plank, this is made to look just like large format ceramic tile. And before we start laying the tiles, we need to figure out what the layout's gonna be. Now you have two options, obviously. You can have it going widthwise across the room, or you can have it going lengthwise. I like it to be lengthwise. I like the length of the tile or the plank to go with the longest measurement of the room. That's just my preference, but you can do it however you want to. But first things first, I went ahead and vacuumed this entire place. And now what I wanna know is, how many of these tiles can I fit across the room? So what you don't want to have is have a little sliver at the doorway right when somebody's walking in. All right, so for width, I know that I'm going to be 60 inches because that's the size of my tub. But with the drywall, it comes in at 50.
Brad entered into a long monologue about measuring and spacing and laying out tiles. He scribbled equations on the wall like a madman. Some say he's still mathing to this day.
Visually, if you want to lay it down in your room and just get a feel of it and kind of move things around, it's probably the easiest way to do it. And, maybe forget the math. Just lay it out, see what you like, send it. All right, now with any locking floor, you always want to start in the top left corner of the room in the way that you're going to be running it. And you want to have the grooves here facing on the outside so that you can click them in, boom, do a little drop lock here, drop lock from this side as well. So my first full piece can go right here in the corner. And of course, I'm immediately running into this toilet flange. All right, let's see if we got this on the first try. All right, I gotta take off a bit more to get around this little lip here. There we go. Now, if you're gonna be replacing your toilet flange, I would recommend to cut that off first, put your flooring in, and then put the flange back on top of it, because then you can hug around the smaller diameter of the pipe versus the large diameter of the flange. But we should be okay here. Now, I'm just gonna use some spacers to put in between the wall and the tile. I'm gonna do a 1/4 inch spacer here on the wall side. But against the tub, I'm only gonna do 1/8 of an inch here because we're gonna caulk against the tub. Now, I just have this little piece of cardboard and just put it in there. Now, the rest of this first row is pretty easy. I'm just gonna lock it in place and we'll come back and square everything up on our next row. All right, I'm at the end row here and I've got to cut this short. Now, this is one thing to definitely remember. What you don't want to do is lay the piece in place and then mark this left side and cut it, because then you're going to cut off your tongue here that goes in the groove underneath. So what you do is you flip it around. Then you can put it up against the wall, back it off about 1/4 of an inch, make your mark. And now you have that tongue in place, so when you flip it back around, you can actually lock it. And don't ask me how I figured out not to do that, because I may have cut it off a time or two. Now, you can definitely cut vinyl plank flooring by just scoring it with a razor knife and snapping it, but I prefer to use a tile cutter because I have done enough vinyl plank flooring where it made sense to buy one of these. And once you get one of these, you will never go back. And just like that, we've got a perfectly cut tile. All right, starting in on the second row is where you're gonna start your stagger. So we're gonna have the brick pattern layout. Since I have a full tile, it's super easy. I'm just gonna measure halfway on this tile and cut it in half. So if you have something other than a full-size tile right here, all you have to do is say, I'm gonna cut it in half plus whatever else I cut off this first tile. So if you cut 3 inches off that first tile, you're gonna wanna cut it in half plus 3 inches, and there you go. So don't make it too hard. It took me a minute to figure that out, but it's pretty easy. And hot off the presses, I just printed some of these little 1/8" spacers. That is the awesome thing about having a 3D printer. I literally just designed this little thing in Tinkercad and printed it. This is gonna work fine. Switch this out and then put this guy in here. So now I'm gonna have the proper spacing, but I still need to work around this. I'll make a quick cut and then I can go in and go around this piece. So it's a lot easier on the front side when you don't have to worry about the wall. Now with the toilet flange out of the way, this is the easy part. You could just keep on going until you run into the next obstruction, which will probably be the far wall. And then we also have a HVAC vent that's over here. So I'm just gonna start running and gunning and finish up all these rows until we have to make some more cuts. All right, so actually I hit a little obstruction. So this tile needs to slide under this door jamb, so I can just use my trusty oscillating tool. I'm gonna get a little scrap and I'll cut this short. And when you get into situations like that, it is nice to have a couple tools. This is a tapping block and this works really well for not damaging the edge while you're having to just kind of tap something into place. Like I was knocking that under the door jamb, I needed to coerce it with this. And then once you get past it, you need to pull it back sometimes, and that's where a pull bar comes into play. And I'll have links down below to all the things that I've used for this install, but these are just a few tools that'll help make the install go quite a bit easier. All right, made it to the last row, and these do need to be a bit more narrow. So I actually took this over to the shop and ripped it down on the table saw. That is by far gonna be the easiest way to do it. The second one would be a track saw. Then after that, I would say a circular saw with a guide, a jigsaw, and then maybe an oscillating tool. You could also try to score and snap it, and that's gonna work more if you have, maybe 3 to 4 inches of leverage there to do it, because if you're just trying to take off a little bit, scoring and snapping it is not gonna work out real well. But now I can just put these in and I'll use my pull block to get it into place if I need to. And I am gonna have to work around this little register. This will be an easy cutout. With proper installation and tightly locked joints, this tile floor is waterproof. So to seal up that gap at the bathtub, I'm gonna be using some silicone that is color matched for the grout. And I'm also going to tape the tub and then lay down a bead of silicone there. I'm gonna err on the side of less is more, and if it takes a couple swipes through, then that's okay, because I just don't wanna get this everywhere because it's messy and, it's dark. I don't want it to stain stuff. For flooring, I'm including the subfloor here in this cost as well as the vinyl plank tile. Adding those two together, we came in at $220 for this part of the project. And next, I jumped into the worst part of the entire project, which is mudding the drywall, because I am horrible at it. And things were going okay, but then I definitely ran into some issues around the tub and shower. Now this next mistake, I'm actually gonna show you as I'm fixing it, because this one, I just didn't know what to do when I was installing the drywall around the tub and shower surround. So you can see here, there's a big gap in between the drywall and the tub, and that's basically for the whole flange of the tub surround. Now originally, this came all the way up against the tub surround, but the issue was this. So when I installed the tub surround, I used these countersunk screws, and I was thinking about it when I was doing it that these would stick up off of the flange. And they definitely did. That's maybe like 1/8 of an inch. So as I started attaching the drywall, it wanted to get flat against the surround, but it was held up by the screws, and so it started cracking. It was sloped out, and only after the fact did I realize what an issue it was. So I actually took off this piece of drywall and these two side pieces and trimmed it back so that it wouldn't be overlapping the flange, and that left this big inch gap there. Now, I saw this product that I thought was pretty cool in a YouTube video, and so I went out and bought some, and that was this Trimtex shower bead. Now, I thought they sold it at Lowe's because that's where the guy said he got it, but the video was like 4 or 5 years old, and apparently they do not sell that anymore. So I had to order it online. It took a while to get here. It came in a big box, kind of a pain in the butt, but this is what I've got, and I'm gonna try to fix it. So I've gone ahead and started cutting some of these pieces around here, but basically what this is this is going to go up against the tub surround on this side. There's this little bump right here that you rest your drywall knife up against, and then all this gets filled in with mud so you can blend it in, and basically as you're mudding this, then it stays off of the tub surround because you're doing your knife in. We're gonna mud it here in a minute. We'll see how well that works. So I've already gone through and I've measured and I've cut all the different pieces and I've mitered the corners so that they'll look nice. Now I did have to use a few shims to get it to actually work right because there's different varying depths off of the drywall because, I don't know, we're in an old bathroom. So I actually 3D printed these little spacers and I was just inserting these into the back to get the extra little space that I needed. The cool thing is once you're done mudding, there's a tearaway strip, so I can just tear this off right here. Then this little part right here will just be flush with the drywall mud and it will be nice and clean against the tub surround and we can caulk within there. So I think this stuff's gonna work pretty well, but I guess we'll find out. All right, to put this on, I sprayed some adhesive on this side and I'm gonna attach it with 1/2-inch staples. And these little blue things are the spacers that you see here. So let's just see how this works. With all the trim installed now I can just start mudding it, and after I put on a few coats of mud, it should go seamlessly together. If I was a good drywaller, but I'm not. All the mud is dry now for the first coat, and now is the worst part of every drywall job, and that's the sanding. And so I picked up this little Win dual head sander. I know this is a small area here, but I figure just for the dust collection alone, I don't know how good this is gonna work. I know the Win products are fairly inexpensive, so the reviews are a bit mixed, but we're gonna give it a go and see how it works out. All right, so right off the bat, I do not like that Win sander. I was sanding with it and it is just too aggressive. If you can look here, it really started taking off the face of the drywall and exposing the cardboard underneath, which is not good. And when you take it off the wall, it spilled dust. Not a fan. So I ended up just using Old Faithful and sanded everything with a sanding block. And that took forever. But it's finally time for the second coat, and I'm gonna go over there and do a nice little sly coat, thin coat, some type of coat, and try to make it so that I have very minimal sanding after this, because sanding all this by hand is a pain in the butt. And unfortunately, I'm just not a great drywall applier, mudder, taper. If you've got some great tips, let's hear them down below, because whatever I'm doing here is not working great. And I am sure there are a lot of experts out there. I am absolutely not one of them. All right, after multiple days of drywall and sanding and more drywall and more sanding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it is time for paint. But now I want to peel off this trim on this Trimtex little peel away and see how it looks. So let's see what happens. All right, so I should just be able to peel this off. Please don't pull my whole drywall off. Okay, here goes the top one. There we go. All right, so that is pretty cool. It actually just leaves a little bit of that plastic and a very small gap that I am gonna put a little bead of caulk in, and then we can just paint it. That worked out okay. I mean, I would probably go ahead and shim it because this stuff is expensive and it's just another thing that you have to buy and get in there. But if you do have that issue where you have a big gap, it's a decent product. Although they sent me the wrong size. So, your mileage may vary. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of caulking and then I'm going to prime and paint this entire place. Be ready to get it back together. So looking at the drywall and the mudding, that's about $220 worth of sheathing and mud and different supplies, and then another $46 for paint. So our total for all the wall coverings and paint was $266. To finish off the bathroom, I installed this oak vanity, which I think looks awesome, and we went with some black hardware for the shower faucet and tub, as well as the sink, and complemented that with some black lighting, as well as a cool mirror. Also had a little hardware set for hanging towels, and the last thing we did was replace the bath fan, because that old one was disgusting. Altogether, those items came up to $960. Before I get to the final pricing, if you're wondering what happened to that rodent in the crawl space, I don't know. We never found him, I never caught him, never found any dead bodies, so maybe subscribe to the channel and we'll see if we can find him in another video. But let's jump into the total cost of the bathroom. If you add all these things together, I also added in $100 for miscellaneous supplies and hardware that I probably missed. We came in at $2,443, which is right under our budget of $2,500, which is awesome. So it is like a quarter of what you could get a contractor to do it, and I think anybody can do this DIY project. Checking out the before and afters, what a huge transformation. Absolutely love how this turned out. I'm so glad I took on this project. I've done a couple other bathroom remodels. If you want to check those out, I got a video queued up for you right there. I'm Brad. Until next time, get out there and build something awesome.